Have you ever made a tote bag? No. Have you ever made a granny square tote bag? This is my first time ever making a granny square tote bag. Actually, this is my second tote bag ever. In this video, I bring you the tutorial on how to make this daisy flower granny square tote bag. The tutorial is so easy to follow and the blend of colors, totally beautiful if you ask me. Welcome or welcome back to the channel and let's get into the tutorial. I'm using these 3 shades and I'll be doubling my strands of medium weight yarn. So this yellow is medium weight and I'm doubling it. The white yarn is lightweight and I'll be using 4 strands. The green is medium weight and I'll be using 2 strands, a 4mm crochet hook. And so I'm going to begin with my yellow. And to do that, we begin with a magic ring. And this is how I create my magic ring. Go over my fingers with the yarn and twist it. Then put the hook inside the ring and pull up a loop using the longer side of the yarn. Then chain 1. And there we have the magic ring. Then I'll make it shorter by pulling the shorter end and chain 2 more to make it 3 chains. That first chain 3 is a double crochet. Then I'm going to go into that ring with a double crochet. So pull up a loop to get 3 loops on a hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's my second double crochet. Yarn over, go into the ring and place a third double crochet. So that's 3. Then I'll do a 4th double crochet and I'm going to do a total of 12 double crochets into that ring. This is my last double crochet and after I'm done with that, I'll pull the short end to close up that space and then I'll slip stitch onto the chain 3 from the beginning. So go onto the chain 3, then slip stitch. And we're done with the first row of our circle. So chain 1 and cut off the yarn at that point. So the first round is with the yellow. The next round I'm going to work it with white. So once I'm done with the yellow, I'll get the second color. I'm working with the 4 strands like I mentioned because the white color is a lightweight yarn and I want to achieve the chunky effect. So I start with a slip knot and then I'm going to get the very first stitch where I cut off the yellow and slip stitch at that point. You should have a total of 12 stitches, so slip stitch. After slip stitching, we're going to chain 3, which is our first double crochet. So chain 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do clusters of 3 double crochets, 3 unfinished double crochets. So that's our first. Then we're going to yarn over, insert the hook into that same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 and do not complete the double crochet. Then yarn over again, back into that same stitch, pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through 2. Then now we yarn over and pull through all the 3 loops that are on the hook. That's our first cluster in the first stitch. Next, we're going to chain 2, then yarn over and go into the next stitch. So yarn over into the second stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. You have 2 loops on the hook. Don't complete the double crochet. Yarn over, go into the same stitch and pull up a loop, then pull through 2. That's the second. Then the third one will be yarn over and pull up a loop, then pull through 2. In total, we'll have 4 loops on that hook, yarn over and pull through all of them. We're done with the second cluster. Chain 2, then we yarn over and go into the third stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, same stitch, you place another double crochet without completing it and a third double crochet without completing. Then we yarn over and pull through all the loops, and we have our third cluster. Chain 2, we go into the fourth stitch and do the same thing, and we're going to repeat these clusters of 3 double crochets crocheted together until we have a total of 12 clusters. So I'll keep going to the end of this round and I'll meet you once I'm done. I'm done with the last cluster, so I'll chain 2. Then to complete the round, I'll go into the chain 3 that I began with and slip stitch right there. Then chain 1 and cut off the yarn at that point. Then pull through and fasten. And there we have the 2 rounds. So now we're ready to work with the green. The green is a medium weight yarn, so I'm using 2 strands. I want to get a chunky effect. So if you have a chunky yarn, you do not have to double the strands. So now I'm going to begin with a slip knot. Then I'll get my work and start from any gap, slip stitch into that chain 2 gap, and then chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and that's our first double crochet. Yarn over and place 2 more double crochets into that chain 2 space. So that's 1. We are completing the double crochets this time round. Then 2 double crochets. Those are 3 double crochets together with the chain. The next thing that we do is we're going to chain 2 and go back into that same space with 3 double crochets. And this creates a corner of our square, the first corner of our square. So the 3 double crochets into that space. And now we move over to the next space. We already have the corner. We get into the next space without chaining and place 3 double crochets into that space. So that's 1, 2, and 3 double crochets. Then we're going to move to the space that follows and place 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And now our next space will be a corner. So we have a corner, 2 clusters of 3 double crochets each, then another corner. So here we're going to have 3 double crochets, So that's 2 and 3. Then we chain 2 to create the corner and go back into that same space with 3 more double crochets. So that's 1, 2 and 3 double crochets. So we have the second corner, and now we're going to have 3 double crochets into the next 2 spaces. So the space that follows will get 3 double crochets, that is 1, 2 and 3. We skip over to the next space and place 3 double crochets, 1, then we have 2 and 3. After the 2 double crochets, the 2 spaces with 3 double crochets each, we get to the third corner, and into that corner we do 3 double crochets. So that's 1, then we have the second one, we have the third, and then we chain 2. So chain 2 and then go back into that space with 3 more double crochets. So that's 1, 2 and 3. And now the next 2 spaces again we'll get 3 double crochets each. So into that second next space we place 3 double crochets. So we have 1, 2 and 3. The next space will also get 3 double crochets, 1, 2 and 3. And now the next space will be a corner, the fourth corner. So we do the 3 double crochets with a chain 2 in between and another 3 double crochets. So I have 2, 3, then I chain 2 at that point. So chain 2 back into the same space with 3 more double crochets, 1, 2 and 3. Into the next space we do 3 double crochets. So that's 1, 2 and 3. Then the next space we'll get 3 double crochets. So we have 1, 2 and 3. And to complete that round we slip stitch onto the chain 3 at the beginning. So go into the chain 3 and do a slip stitch. So right there, the slip stitch, yeah, do the slip stitch right there, and then chain 1, then cut off the yarn, pull through and fasten, and we're done with our square. Now this square looks like it has too many stitches and it might need to be blocked, but because I do not have the granny square blocking whatever, I'll not be blocking it. I'll just stretch it out. I did another one, but instead of placing 3 double crochets into the chain 2 spaces in between, I did 2 double crochets, and this one looks like it does not have too many stitches. So you can choose either of the two. You can do the 3 double crochets in between or just 2 double crochets. I'll go with the 3 double crochets, even though it looks like there are too many stitches, but that's what I'm going with. Next we weave in the ends. So to work the ends, I just get 2 ends that are of the same color and are close to each other. So I'm going to start with the yellow ends because they are close to each other. And what I do is just tie knots. So begin with the first knot. And when you're making the first knot, you want to make sure that you don't make it too tight in order to not interfere with the shape of the square. Then the second knot, we make it tight, completely tight, and then we cut off the yarn. But make sure that you don't cut too close to the knot. And also you don't want to leave a very long end. Then with the other ones, because they're not close to each other, I get the darning needle and I use the darning needle to move one of the ends closer to the other in order to tie the knot. So right here, I'm just putting the white yarn, the white end through my darning needle. Then I'll weave it in those stitches to take it down closer to the other white end, just like that. Don't pull too much so that you don't interfere with the shape. Then we make the first knot and make sure that the first knot is not too tight, just tight enough. Then with the second knot, we make sure that it's very tight and secure. So make it tight and then get the pair of scissors and cut the yarn, leaving some short ends over there. Don't cut too close to the knot. So there we have the second color weaved in. Then now we get the third one. We get one of the ends and move it closer to the other one. So just put the yarn through the darning needle and then we're going to weave it in the double crochet stitches. So just go into those stitches and weave in so that you take that end closer to the other end. So just like that, pull the yarn through. Don't interfere with the shape of the square like I mentioned. And now we make the knots. So the first knot, not too tight, make the first knot and then make sure the second knot is tight. So here I'm just pulling to make sure that I'm not losing the shape of my square. So now I'm making the second knot and I'm making it tight. Then I'll cut off the ends. So leaving the short ends is not a problem because we're going to have a lining in our bag. So now this is my square. I'm just stretching it to put it in shape. If you have the blocking board, then good for you. I went on to make a total of 27 squares, and the 27 squares will be enough for my bag. So now we're going to start connecting them. Get any two squares and hold them such that this is the right side and this is also a right side. So we have the two wrong sides facing each other. Then I'm going to join using my yellow yarn. So I'll get the yellow and start with a slip knot. Then I'm going to get any of the two corners of this, any of the corners of the two squares and put them together, then pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through two to complete a single crochet into that corner. Then after that, we're going to go into the stitch after the corner on each of the squares. We connect those two stitches with a single crochet. Then we're going to connect the next stitches with a single crochet. So basically we are working one single crochet into each of the stitches. You want to make sure that your squares are well aligned, and if you're working the third stitch on this side, you should be working the third stitch on the other side, and we're going to join till we get to the second corner. So just go with one single crochet in every stitch of the two squares to the corner. I'm at the corner and I'm going to do my last single crochet there. And so we have those two squares joined. This is what we have. Then we're going to get two more squares. Hold them such that you're working on the right sides of each of the squares. So these are the right sides. Then without cutting off the yarn, we're just going to go straight into the two corners of those next squares. just what I'm doing, then we do a single crochet. Then we do 1 single crochet into the next stitches all the way to the next corner. I'm at the corner, and right there I'll do my last single crochet, and we have 4 squares connected like that. We're going to get 2 more squares, hold them on the right side and attach just like we've attached the previous 2. So get your yarn, no chains in between, just go straight into the corner of one square and the corner of the other one. Then we do a single crochet right there, then 1 single crochet into all the other stitches up to the corner. I'm done with that connection. So now we get another 2 squares and continue with the connection to the end. So let me get the 2 squares, connect, and then I'll meet you once I'm done connecting. You already know how to do this, so I'm going to do this part off camera, then come back. Once I get to the end, I'll do my last single crochet into that chain 2 space, then chain 1 and cut off the yarn at that point. Then we're going to pull through and fasten, and we have a total of 2 rows of 4 squares each, just like that. Then we're going to do a third row, and for the third row we're just going to get 1 square at a time. So beginning with a slip knot as usual, begin with a slip knot and then get 1 square and we attach it to that square right there in the second row. So we go into the chain 2 spaces and do a single crochet. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet into all the stitches to the second corner. So keep going with 1 single crochet, joining the corresponding stitches of the 2 squares until you get to the corner. At the corner, do your last single crochet, and there we have the first square of the third row connected. So we're going to get another square, go into the chain 2 space of the next square and the square that we've gotten, attach them together with a single crochet, then attach the corresponding stitches of the 2 squares with 1 single crochet to the corner. I'm done attaching that square, so I'll get a third one, and from there I'll join up to the fourth. So let me do until I get the 4 squares in the third row. I'm coming to the end and I'm just doing my last single crochet right there. And now I have 3 rows, each with 4 squares. But then this forms the one of the panels, either one side of the panels, and I've realized that I can actually attach all the squares until I get the 2 panels complete, and then after that I can shape them into the bag. So instead of working the 4, I'll go on and add 3 more to get me to 7. So I'm getting 2 of these and attaching them right there. Then I'll get another 2 and another 2, and that will get me to 7 squares. So I'm going to have 3 rows with 7 squares each. I hope that makes sense. So now I'll go on join until I get the 7 squares and then come back. So in total I'll have joined 21 squares because we have 3 rows each with 7 squares. I'm joining my last square, and at the end I'll chain 1 and cut off the yarn. Then I'll pull the yarn through and fasten. And right here I have my 21 squares, 7 squares in each of the 3 rows. So when we fold these into 2, this is what we have. Next I'm going to start with my slip knot, and I'll get another square and join it so that we form a 4th row. But then we're just going to join only 3 squares. We're not going to do 7, but we'll do 3. So in this 4th row, I'm going to join a total of 3 squares, and then I'll go to the other side and join another 3. So let me do that first joining, then I'll show you how our work will be looking. I'm done joining the 3 squares, and this is what we have. Then we're going to go to the opposite side and join another 3. So we have 3 on this side, and we're going to have 3 on the opposite side. So right here, right there, I'll join the squares and then come back. I'm done joining 3 squares on this other side. So this is what we have. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we can connect the other parts that are not connected. So starting from the bottom, we're going to connect across. Then we're going to do that connection all the way to the top. Start with a slip knot as usual. And then we start at the corner of the first 2 squares. And right there we do our single crochet. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet into all the stitches until we get to the corner. And at that corner we're going to work differently. So I'll meet you there and show you how to connect when we get to the corner. At the corner, make sure that you identify the chain 2 space and work into it. Then after that, we're going to skip over and work into the chain space on the other side. That is on the second 2 squares on the other side. So over the previous connection that we had done, we do a single crochet into the chain 2 space. Then now connect normally. When you get to the chain 2 space, make sure that you work into it on one side, and then you work on the chain 2 space on the other side while working over the previous single crochet connection. So now I'm just going to go with 1 single crochet into each of the corresponding stitches. I'm at the chain 2 spaces, and right there I'm doing my single crochet. Then I'm going to skip over, and then I'll work the single crochet on the opposite side on the next 2 squares. So into that chain 2 space, place a single crochet, then continue this to the end. At the end, I'll do the last single crochet, chain 1, and cut off the yarn, and then I'll pull through and fasten. So that first connection is done, and we're just going to do the same connection on all the other rows until I get to the top. So let me do those connections and then come back once I've joined everything. After joining all the required parts, this is what we have, and now we are ready to transform this into a bag. Now you have your one big panel. We're going to turn it like this. This is the wrong side, and then fold. So you want to fold in such a way that we have the 2 side panels, the 2 large panels, and the side panels that are going to close up like this on each of the sides. So that means we're going to join from this corner like this all the way to the top in order to create that bag like look. So now we're going to start with a slip knot and just join normally, just like we've been joining the other squares. So starting from that corner, I'll slip stitch onto one of the single crochets at the end. So do the slip stitch. Then I'm going to work over the ends as I connect the 2 squares at that point. And we're going to start in the first, in the chain 2 spaces, the chain 2 spaces of the 2 squares that we are connecting. Connect those 2 spaces with a single crochet. Then we're going to connect the stitches normally until we get to the corner, and then continue all the way to the top. So right here, just watch and learn. At the corner, we have the last single crochet before we turn and start working to the top. And right here, we're going to work a single crochet into the chain 2 space on the next square and the chain 2 space of the previous square on the other side. Do a single crochet, then do a single crochet into all the stitches, and continue to the top. You already know how to connect the squares by now, so just connect them up to the top, and I'll meet you once I get to the top part of the bag. As you connect the squares, make sure that you're working over the ends just to weave them in. This reduces the work that you're going to have at the end once you're done with the connection, because you don't want to have too many ends remaining when you could have just worked over them. I'm at the top part of the bag and I'm doing the last single crochet. Then I'll chain one and cut off the yarn at that point. Then pull the yarn through and fasten, and that part of connection is done. Our bag is starting to take shape. So now this is what we have, and we're just going to turn to the other side and do the same connection. So I'm trimming off some of the ends that I've already weaved in. Then I'll do the trimming on the inner part. Don't cut off an end that you've not weaved in because you don't want your work to unravel. Then turn to the other side of the bag and do the same connection. So right here, I'll just connect off camera because you already know how to do this connection. Then I'll come back and show you the next thing to do. As you can see, I'm joining my 2 single crochets there, and that's where I'm going to slip stitch. The reason for doing that is to ensure that these are continuous, like our lines are continuous. So once I slip stitch there, I'll start my single crochets in the chain 2 space. I'll chain 1, then into the chain 2 space, do the first single crochet, then I'm going to do the connection to the top. After connecting the sides of the bag, this is what we have. And our bag is almost complete. So we're just going to do an edging at the top part of the bag and then do the straps and we'll be done. I love how this is turning out. If you're enjoying the tutorial, kindly leave a like, comment, share, subscribe if you're not subscribed. You can also support us in buying the materials for creating these videos by clicking on the thanks button, or you can join our membership program and become part of the ladensercrochets community. Start from any corners of the bag at the top, insert the hook into the single crochet stitch and slip stitch just like that. Then chain 1, go into the chain 2 space and place a single crochet. Then we're going to do a total of 5 single crochets, 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 1 single crochet into the stitch that follows. As you can see, I'm working over the end, 1 single crochet into the 4th stitch and 1 single crochet into the 5th stitch. After the 5 stitches, we're going to skip the next one. So skip the one that follows, work into the other one and do a total of 5. So that's 1. Then we have 2. And then we have 3, 4, and then 5. After the 5th, we're going to skip the stitch that follows, and we're also going to skip the chain 2 space. Then we're going to work on that single crochet row of the joining, place a single crochet, and then we skip the chain 2 space on the other side, work on the double crochet that follows, and then we're going to work 1, 2, then we have 3, 4, and 5 single crochets, 1 into each of the stitches. After the 5 single crochets, we skip 1 and work into the next stitch. So we work 5 single crochets, 1, then we have 2, this is 3, then we have this is the 4th one, sorry, so we have 4, and then we have 5. At the end of the square, we have one double crochet remaining and the chain 2 space. So we're going to skip the 2, then we work on the single crochet row of joining that first single crochet right there. Go into it and place a single crochet. Then we skip the chain 2 space on the next square and work on the double crochet, on the first double crochet after the chain 2 space. We're going to work 5 single crochets, 1 into each of the 5 stitches that follow over there. So that's 1, then we have 2, and then we have 3 and 4, then we have 5. After the 5 single crochets, we skip. And this is a pattern that we're going to repeat all the way around the top part of the bag. So I'll keep doing this until I get to the point where I've started. Remember, we are working over the ends that are on the top in order to weave them in. If this is difficult for you, you can leave them out and weave them in at the end once you're done with the edging. So once you complete row 1, I'll show you how to work row 2. I'm coming to the end of that first row of edging, and right here I'm just placing my single crochets. Now I'm skipping the double crochet and working into the chain 2 space, then I'll slip stitch into the very first single crochet that I did, and that's our first row on the upper part of the bag. So this is what we have. I'll just trim off all these ends because I've already weaved them in. Next, I'm going to chain 1, and turn to begin row 2. I'm going to work from the inner part of the bag. I'll begin in the first stitch, place a single crochet into that very first stitch. And for row 2, we're just going to work 1 single crochet into every stitch. So each of the stitches will get 1 single crochet all the way round. So let me work the single crochets and I'll meet you at the end of row 2. I'm coming to the end of row 2 and I'm just placing my last stitches, single crochets into each of the stitches. Right here I have just a few remaining. That's the second last, and this right here, no, that was the second last, and this is the last stitch. Then I'm going to slip stitch on top of the first single crochet in row 2 to complete that row. Then I'll chain 1 and turn to begin row 3. Row 3 is the same as row 2, so we start with the first stitch, single crochet, then single crochet all the way around. So let me complete row 3 and then we shall continue from there. I'm coming to the end of row 3 and I will just slip stitch into the first stitch, then chain 1 and cut off the yarn at that point. After cutting off the yarn, I'll pull it through and fasten, and I'll get the darning needle and weave in that end. This is how the bag looks like after weaving in all the ends, and we are done with the main part of the bag. The only thing that's remaining is to work the straps. So let's do that. Get your yarn and start with a slip knot, and then we're going to leave a long end that we're going to use to attach the strap to the bag. So I've left a long end and now I'm going to chain up to 90 chains. I have my 90 chains ready and I'm going to show you how to measure these because you might want your chain longer. So I'm going to measure these while stretching a little bit, and that gets me to a length of 30 inches, which is what I want to work with. Then I'm going to block off the last chain and chain one more. Then go into that second chain and place a single crochet. Then we're going to place a single crochet into the next chain, a single crochet into the chain that follows, a single crochet next, and we're going to work one single crochet into each of the chains till we get to the end, and that means at the end of row 1 of the chain or of the strap I should have 90 single crochets. So keep going to the end and I'll meet you there. I'm at the end of row 1 and I'm just placing my last single crochet. Then I'll chain 1 and turn to begin row 2, and we're going to begin row 2 in the very first stitch. So place a single crochet into that stitch. Then we're going to work one single crochet into all the stitches to the end of row 2. At the end of row 2 we'll still have 90 single crochets. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn, then work row 3. At the end of row 3 we'll chain 1 and turn and work row 4, and we're going to have a total of 4 rows for the strap. I'll show you one more time how to complete the row. So this is the end of row 2 and that is the very last stitch. So insert your hook into it and place a single crochet right there. So grab the loop and do a single crochet, chain 1 and turn to begin row 3. We begin row 3 in that very first stitch, then work all the way to the end, and let me do my 4 rows, then come back. I'm done with the 4 rows, so I'll chain 1 at the end and I'm going to leave a long end just like we did at the beginning, then cut off the yarn, pull through and fasten. Then I'll do a second strap completely identical to this. So when we fold into 2, this is how the strap should look like. I have my 2 straps ready and we are ready to attach them to the bag. Now I'll get my bag, place it like this, then I'm going to get one of the straps and making sure that it's not twisted, I'll place it on top of the bag like this. Then I'll get the darning needle and that is what I'm going to use to sew the straps onto the bag. So get the darning needle and put the end through Then I'm just going to turn my bag like this. I'll insert the darning needle into my very first row. Then on the second row of the edging of the bag, and making sure that I'm aligning with that single crochet joint of the squares, just like I'm doing. So this is the part that I say just watch and learn. Then I'll go back into that same stitch and sew it. Then I'm going to go into the second row and a second stitch on the second row of my bag and just sew them together. Then I'll keep sewing to the end of the rows of the strap. At that last part, I'm going to go back into the same row that I've done, and that last stitch on the bag, then I'll make a knot to secure that part, fasten it. Then I'm going to put the needle through to the wrong side of the bag, or to the inside part of the bag. And then when I get there on the inner part of the bag, I'm going to weave in that end. I'll make a knot first and then weave in. So the reason why I'm making another knot on the inner part is to make sure that the strap is fully secured. Now I'm weaving in the end. I'll then cut off the yarn that remains, and there we have our strap attached to one side of the bag. Then we're going to go to the other side. Make sure that your strap is not twisted. Count the number of stitches at that point, the number of stitches that you're going to need from the joining, and then you're going to get your darning needle, put it through, and then you're just going to attach the strap on this side the same exact way we've done on the other side, and make sure that you're doing that on the second row of the edging of the bag. After weaving in the end, we cut off whatever remains, and there we have the first strap secured. So then we're going to turn to the other side of the bag, and we're going to attach the second strap the same exact way we've done on the first side. So let me do that off camera, then come back. After sewing in my two straps, this is what we have, and this bag is amazing. I love it. What do you think about it? I know you've loved this as much as I have. Now the next thing to do is the lining and a zipper to the bag, which I'm going to do in the next part. Once I do, I'll leave a link in the description box for a tutorial on how to do the lining and the zipper or a lock to the bag. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, kindly leave a like, comment, share, subscribe if you're not subscribed. And when you recreate this, kindly don't forget to tag me on my social media pages, and I'll be reposting your work. See you in the next one.